Welcome back to another episode of Straight Facts. I'm live with League Gunner as Arsenal sit 8 points clear at the top of the league. Man United's takeover nears completion. Conte has been sacked. He's just waiting his compensation payout. We're talking transfers and much, much more today. But how are you, my friend? How are you?
I'm very well, man. I'm very good. Lovely, beautiful day, 30 degrees in Spain. And I'm stuck indoors talking to you, Tel.
No better place. No better place.
Nothing better I'd rather be doing right now, mate.
I know, mate. And me too. There's nowhere else on planet Earth or nobody else I'd rather be with at 3:30 on a, nearly 3:45 to be fair. We were a little late. We were just talking about a few things backstage. Sorry about that, people. But yes, lots to delve into today. A hell of a lot to talk about today as well, because football's in a little hiatus while the international games go on, but it was a brilliant end to the footballing weekend. Lots to talk about with United and Arsenal and with City. We will get onto Arsenal a little bit later, but I think there's no better place to start today. No better place, my friend, guys. I'm going to say this, VK. You've got to learn to understand sarcasm better. If people had like a proper good sarcasm barometer, I think they'd get less angry watching social media. I tweeted the other day again, was it handball to Willian's handball with a picture of it clearly on his hand. And people are like, are you mad? I'm like, bro, that sarcasm's so dead now on people. But yeah, there's no better place to start than Tottenham, because Antonio Conte, I spoke to two journalists today who are really playing it down online, but they have told me privately, so people can take this as what they will, that he has been sacked. They told him that he's no longer welcome. They are just working with these representations and legal teams surrounding the compensation and what they're going to pay him to go. But he will leave. Ryan Mason is going to come in until the end of the season as he's kind of interim replacement. And then they are looking at Ruben Almiron and Luis Enrique and Poch to come in and replace him. But Antonio Conte sacked. The right thing to do, in your opinion?
Yes and no, if I'm being honest. That club's just a shambles, full stop, Terry. And to be fair, the interview or post-match press conference, as it was, he was spot on. The only thing I would say that he didn't do that he probably should have done is given himself a bit more slack. Yeah, but I think he's got to that point where he's just fed up. Like he's fed up and had enough. And you know, people can sit there and say he spent a lot of money, but has he really spent that money? How many of them players did he actually want? Like we know that he's a win now manager. We know that he's not a youth project manager, one for the future manager. We know that you bring him in, give him a load of dough, go and buy a load of 35-year-olds, and he might get you in the a title charge. We've seen in Inter, he had Ashley Young at right back. Like, you know, he didn't want Jed Spence. He probably wanted an Ashley Young type player, like in his mid-30s. Well, 37, I think Ashley Young is now, isn't he? Still doing it at Villa. But I'd say Perisic was definitely his signing. That's a Conte-esque signing. And then obviously Kulusevski, albeit he is a lot younger, that's his signing. And so is Bentancur. Other than that, I'm kind of struggling to see what other players he wanted. There's a lot of people saying he wanted Richarlison. Did he? Because he don't tend to play him very often. And I don't know, man. It's weird because Tottenham have always been a circus. And I say this to Henry when I speak to Henry on shows. Like, what do Tottenham fans actually want? Like, what do they want? Where do they think they should be? You know, they're doing what they did last season. They're challenging for top four. They're currently fourth. You know, they've got a little bit of a cushion, but people have got games in hand behind them and stuff like that. If they get Champions League, their fans will be jumping for joy. Oh, we go again, win the Champions League. They get in the Champions League, they do nothing in it and get knocked out. Then it's, we're back in the Champions League. Like, round and round you go. Like, they had Pochettino do that. And fair play to him. He got them to a final, which they lost. But they don't win anything. And there's no identity at that football club. Like, all I see is Daniel Levy and Enoch just turning it into, like I quote you all the time on this, the North London O2. Like, that is basically what it is. It is an absolute shambles what's happening at that football club. But their fans seem to lap it up. And, you know, I see a lot of Tottenham fans online in the fallout of that press conference saying, oh, he's a disgrace, he's trying to get sacked. I don't think he is trying to get sacked. I think he's just got to the point where he's just thought, do you know what? This lot are a shambles. I'm just gonna say it as it is. I think he was extremely peed off. They drew 3-3. Now, people can talk about his tactics all they like, and yeah, listen, he ain't been great. Yeah, let's be real. I like Conte. I think he's a quality manager. Yeah, and I don't think he's been great. You know, he's gone in there to try and get this Tottenham loser mentality out of there. The problem is when you don't give him what he wants, and it's still rife with the players that were there under Poch 2-3 managers ago. Like, what's he supposed to do? You can't teach Eric Dyer how to defend. He can't. You know, and then what else has he got there? He's got Emerson Royale, or him or Pedro Porro, who's the worst. Like, he had Doherty there before. No, it's all a much of a muchness, isn't it? I'm not saying he's exempt from any blame, because he ain't. Yeah, like his substitutions in the AC Milan game were shambolic. But at the same time, I think that, you know, when you go and play Sheffield United, people are saying, I see a couple of Tottenham fans saying yesterday, I think it was Toby on the Big Six, said, yeah, but he put a reserve team out against Sheffield United. Well, no disrespect. Even Tottenham's reserve should be beating Sheffield United.
Yeah.
I do think, just to say, I do think he's been harshly treated, but at the same time, he needed to do a bit more. But when you're not getting given win now players, you're getting given like Sarr, you're getting given like other players that are nowhere near, and then you're being told you've got to keep these players. You can't go and get a defender. You have to get this. We're bringing this in. On 60 mil on Richarlison. Yeah, who's apparently out for the season. He's going to end up with no league goals this season. That 60 million could have bought him a centre back.
Yeah,
it could have bought him a right back. Yeah, it could have brought him somebody else that might help him win. Yeah, I think it's hilarious watching them, mate, because they just do the same crap every year. And it's just a different manager. And then the funniest thing about it is the manager leaves and goes on and wins. Like, you know, Pochettino left, ended up winning at PSG. Mourinho left, won at Roma. Yeah, he's going to leave. And I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up at Atletico Madrid. Yeah, he'll probably end up nabbing a couple of players out of Tottenham that he does like. Yeah, and he'll end up winning something with them as well.
Do you know what's crazy about it? I agree with lots of what you've said. I think Conte has made lots of mistakes. His style of football, the players rejected Jose's style. They rejected Nuno's style. So I don't understand what made the board think they were going to take his. Now, I was somebody, I said the same about Conte that I said about Jose. If they give this manager what he wants, they're dangerous. They could be a dangerous team. Last year, I knew they'd make top four with him because Spurs do what the Glazers do, but on a smaller budget. Is when new managers arrive, they give them everything they want to begin with, and then they slowly start to pull the rug from underneath their feet. They did very well to get into the top four, and I said at the end of last season, if they give him what he wants this summer, they could be an outside chance of challenging for the title. But where you're bang on is they haven't. I now believe Richarlison wasn't a Conte signing. One, as you say, not used enough. Same as Dan Juma. The guy isn't bringing him on in games where they need another goal. It is unbelievable. Of course, Jed Spence is a standout example. We also know when it comes to Richarlison that the player Spurs were trying to hijack all summer before they signed Richarlison was Gabriel Jesus. I guarantee you'll find that Gabriel Jesus was the player that Antonio Conte wanted. Richarlison, for me, at £60 million, is one of the worst signings Tottenham have ever made. Maybe with a new manager who loves him, he'll turn it round now. That can happen with individuals at football clubs. You know, a new guy comes in, can get the best out of them. You know, Varane was looking like a bad signing his first year at United. Look what a very good manager has done. You're seeing now why he's worth that money. Luke Shaw, barring the Liverpool game, has had a massive turnaround this year. Can he maintain it? It's another question, but maybe Richarlison can pull that out of the hat. But Spurs are a joke. They're a joke right now. And a lot of their fans that watch the Terrace respect what I say because they know what I'm saying is the truth. And this is what fans should be saying to their club. They're linked now with the likes of Ruben Almiron, who's having an amazing time at Sporting. But Sporting work with a limited budget based on the size of their football club on the European front. And he will get the best out of what he has. That is what he is as a manager. Do we know that he can handle the budget of a Tottenham? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe Spurs see it as, do you know what? Give him maybe an extra 60, 70, 80 million a summer, but still tell him, but maybe he can work with a shoestring budget. And I look at it and think, Spurs shouldn't be on a shoestring budget. They shouldn't be. Their turnover's bigger than Arsenal's now. They are signing all these deals to make even more money as a football club. Yes, they haven't got as much as Man United. They don't have as much as Chelsea. They don't have as much as Man City. But they are one of because of the Premier League TV money, they are one of the wealthiest clubs in the world. Now, Ruben Amorim might be the guy with budgets to do it. But even that link makes me feel you're looking for a guy that can cope with you not spending what you should spend to compete at the very top. Spurs fans will get gas because of how good the football's been. They all renew their season tickets. They buy the new shirts. They buy the new merchandise. They come and watch Lady Gaga. They come and use the go-kart track twice a month just because it's their football club. And all the ENIC out and Levy out stuff will stop for a period of time. But where they will be in a year, 18 months, 2 years, might even be 3 or 4 if the football's pretty, because a lot of Tottenham fans are like, they're like, I was about to say they're like magpies, but magpies actually like shiny objects, like trophies. But they're
like lemons.
Yeah, but they're like, I was going to moth to light. If the football's good, that is the moth to the light for a Spurs fan. The football looks good. That is enough for most Spurs fans to invest their money to keep Levy and ENIC in power, and they will not worry about winning things. For me, they've got to go for Luis Enrique because he's a more experienced manager, plays better football, but would only demand to win. Luis Enrique would not go there to settle for coming fourth, settle for having pretty football, settle for an Audi Cup. That isn't what it's about. And I just think if you're gonna, the problem is if you go for Luis Enrique and ENIC and Levy behave in the same way, they will be back here again because he'll lose his temper with the football club and leave and walk away. Honest to God, like they're I feel sorry for them to a degree because I've witnessed very similar things, but just with higher budgets being spent by the Glazers. However, where I don't feel sorry for them is like I don't feel sorry for top Reds at Manchester United. They are feeding the problem. All it takes for these Man United fans is a trophy or a brilliant signing, and they forget about the Glazers. They honestly forget about the Glazers, and they only really bring out their banners and start marching and protesting when things are going wrong. And then there's a very small percentage of Tottenham fans, a very small percentage of Man United fans who maintain their disgust, win, lose, or draw. Doesn't matter who we sign, where we come in the league, what trophies we win. We're on their backs because over the medium to long term, they're always going to be detrimental to the football element of your football club. And listen, I feel sorry for Conte on one hand. He definitely deserves blame on another because his tactics, his substitutions, there is a little bit of sabotage in that. Almost, well, I didn't want Dan Juma, so I'm not going to bring him on. That is petulant, and I don't agree with it. But the overall mess has been created by their owners. And listen, they're linked with some really good managers, and all that's going to do is it's such a great tactic by the club. They've got to pay someone. So let's pay Luis Enrique or let's play Ruben Almiron that's really fashionable right now. And I'm telling you now, 85% of Tottenham fans online, you will see no more Levy out, no more ENIC out, no more anger. It will be, we're coming for you guys next year. We're going to be back.
They'll be gassed again, like they were when Conte came in, like they were when Jose came in. Like round and round and round you go. That club's a shambles, mate. It always has been. Terry, I'm 41 in the summer. They've won 4 trophies in my lifetime. Like, and the mad thing is a lot of Tottenham fans are happy that Conte's called it out, like, and put it out there to the wider public rather than keeping it bottled up and keeping it in house. But at the same time, like they're also trying to say that, oh yeah, he's diverting it away from him. He's a bit no. The reason that club do not win is not because of Antonio Conte. Yeah, he's the reason they've not won a trophy since he's been there. Yeah, because like you said, his tactics and all of that. But not only that, it goes hand in hand with the same group that have owned that football club for the whole time I think they've had about 14 managers in 20 years. Like, and they've always been the nearly team. Like, it's mad. Like, and Arsenal and Man United went through a little rut like this. We went through 9-year trophy droughts and all of that. Yeah, you lot have obviously not won a title in a long time as well. Yeah, but the difference is we were still nicking cups here and there. Yeah. Like, they don't nick anything. Like, they're not. They had a great opportunity this season to get to that semi-final. Yeah, or to get to a final of the FA Cup. They should be beating Sheffield United. They then would have got Blackburn in the next round. They should be in the semi-final against Man City. Right? And it doesn't matter what team Conte put out in that. I believe Harry Kane still started or played. And I didn't watch it, but from what I gather, it was a semi semi-normal team for
Mate,
them.
it was a strong team. It was the problem is.
But this is the point. They go into these cup competitions even with a semi-normal team, a semi-strong team, but they don't win. Like they should be beating Sheffield United regardless of what team.
This is the problem with all fans of top 6 clubs. Our reserve teams are better than the majority. They're better than every championship team. And when I say reserve team, I'm not saying that the people that don't get on the bench. Spurs played lots of first team players who were on tens of hundreds of thousands of pounds a week. There is no excuse to getting knocked out to these sides. It just isn't. When you guys got beat by Brighton played their strongest team. You didn't play your weakest team. You played a Premier League team still. You didn't play a bunch of kids that have never had games before. You just got beat by a better team on the day. But that's still a decision the manager has made. It's like, it's crazy that people try and defend it. Dan here says, Terry, this is Dan. You can put together the protest with Man United fans, but we can't even leave at 22 minutes versus Man City. We can't compare ourselves to Man United's fan base. The thing is, though, my friend, is we've just got more fans. So as much as you might only have a few hundred to a protest and we have a few thousand, that's just the disparity of how big our fan bases are. When you look at the percentage of Man United fans who have actually done something tangible against the Glazers, I mean, protests are one thing, but they are just protests are a virtue signaling noise. They don't actually. Anyone that thinks the Man United protests have made the Glazers sell is a dingbat. They did nothing. The Glazers are selling because they can get £5.5 to £6 billion for the club, and the club has almost run out of liquid cash for us to be able to spend on players. If they stay, this summer would be a very barren summer. Ironically, the second year after LVG and Jose signed, as an example, typically is when less money is spent. It's a normal pattern. So I get what you're saying, Dan, but that's why I'm blaming those Tottenham fans. The manager can take blame, the owners can take blame, but Spurs fans hold the power to inflict change. We all hold the power to inflict change on anything in life, especially here in the UK, where you're not going to get in trouble for speaking out. You're not going to go to prison for speaking out against your football club. You're not going to get in trouble. So why not? But the point is, Dan, most Spurs fans are actually happy with going to the stadium, having a drink, coming 5th or 6th or 7th,
experience, eating the cheese balls and all of that.
As long as the football's pretty. If the football is pretty,
you're spot on. And as long as Arsenal are not above them, or they're there or thereabouts, they're happy.
And this is it. And I'm not talking about you, Dan. I'm not talking about Jerome that comes on, or Perchy, or Sava, or Deji. There's lots of Tottenham fans that don't think like this. Expressions doesn't think like this, but the vast majority do. The same at Man United. Most Man United fans do not hate the Glazers. They just don't like when something embarrassing happens. But they're very happy to sit there for 10 years with the roof leaking if we were winning trophies.
Ours is as well now, by the way. Did you see it?
I know. Is it leaking? Oh, no.
Can I read this comment out very quickly, Terry? I can't read the name out, because I don't know how to pronounce that, but it's 502 on an Arsenal badge, Arsenal Stadium. I don't understand what that trophy stuff. Most EPL teams do not win a trophy. Palace do not win a trophy. Brentford does not win a trophy. Villa does not win a trophy. So what? Right. Well, this is a great comment, right? And this is why when teams like Manchester City get sanctioned and charged with all these offences, alleged offences, right? This is why I find the way football and the way prize money and everything in this country is done. Because Man United have just won the League Cup and they got 100 grand for winning that. Southampton are currently sat bottom of the table with less points than they've had games. And if they get relegated, they're getting millions. Like we're talking hundreds of millions to get relegated in parachute payments, right? So that in itself is more of an incentive to stay in the Premier League than it is to go and win the League Cup straight away. The FA Cup, I think, is about 2 million, 3 million quid, like with the knockout stages along the way. I think the most you can win if you win the FA Cup is about 5 mil all in, right? That again is not an incentive for a Brentford, for a Palace, for a Brighton and teams like that, because the further you finish up the table, the more money you get. And I think every position's about 3-4 million quid more. So if Brentford finished 7th, they'd get 3-4 million quid more than finishing 8th. So why would they want to go on a cup run? Yeah, and this is where the whole thing needs to be reformed, because there's teams like them teams that guys just named, that are more interested in just finishing in one place, 2 places higher up the league than actually going and winning silverware. right? And that whole thing is an issue to me because Tottenham do exactly the same, Terry. Tottenham would rather finish 4th place because the money of finishing 4th with the Champions League, you get a win bonus, you get a draw bonus, get out the group stage bonus, knockout stages, you get all the income on match day, extra ticket sales, etc., is more lucrative to Tottenham than having a cup run. Yeah, the whole thing's wrong,
bro. Do you know you're absolutely right. And what has then happened in that way, because of this, is fans create the narratives that 4th place is better than the League Cup. League Cup's a Mickey Mouse trophy. The Europa League is a Mickey Mouse trophy. None of our European counterparts at any level, from Spain, Germany, Italy, the other members of the big 4 leagues, and then you go to the smaller leagues, Scotland, Portugal, France, Austria. None of them see some of them have only 1 domestic trophy, but that's always looked at as massive. Some have 2, like France. They all look at it as a big trophy, and they all take the Europa League seriously. That is because they don't have the same TV money that our league does. We should reward success more in the UK than just league positions. I absolutely agree. But equally, to answer that question, why does it matter? Spurs are the 5th highest spending team in Premier League history. They've actually spent somewhere in the region of only about £100 million less than Liverpool and about £200 million less, £300 million less than Man United in 30 years of football. So to spend like Liverpool spend and have almost nothing tangible to show for it in terms of success. Yes, they have a beautiful stadium. Yes, they have some brilliant players. Yes, it has some brilliant nights of football. But that has never been something that has been overly celebrated more than trophies. And it's for football fans again. Football fans created football. We built the football clubs originally. The working classes built the football clubs. We have to fight back and push for what is important in football. Yes, I'd love Man United to have the biggest stadium, the best looking stadium, the best food, the best grass, the best floodlights, the best sponsors, the best everything. But if we had all of that, but we weren't winning trophies, it means absolutely diddly squat. So from my point of view, I look at it from that perspective. Super chat here says 2 grown men shouting at the sky. Us fans will do what fans do. The FA need to increase money at cup competitions. Period. Follow the money. Well, that's exactly what Lee said. Obviously not shouting at the sky. And again, I've seen that a lot on social recently. Grown men shouldn't make content. Let me just say this now about content creating in the football sphere anyway. Without the grown men that are on here, the younger ones you watch wouldn't be doing it, because people like Robbie, people like Goldbridge, people like Redmen, people like Lee, Troops, myself even, I put myself in there, we're the pioneers.
You've done it longer than me.
Like we would, the younger ones wouldn't be here if it hadn't been invented by their predecessors. Secondly, I'm not saying you're doing this, Aya, but people always use "you're a grown man, what are you doing here" as a way of that's not an argument to debunking their point. Like that's what I always think when people use the grown man argument, because all the kids watch it go, that's funny. But did he debunk my point? We've got to get debating great. We've got to make debating great again.
The thing is, he makes a good point. The FA do need to do more, right? But the problem is most of the money that comes into the Premier League for the teams, the 20 teams in it, comes from Sky Sports. Sky Sports dictate when the fixtures are being played. Yeah. We played you on a Wednesday night at 8:00 kickoff. Nobody can get the last train back to London, Terry.
Yeah, you're right. It's absolutely crazy, and that's got to be done. But on Tottenham, there has to be a standard of winning trophies, and fans are the problem, because fans suck on the teat of PR every day of the week. Liverpool fans did it yesterday. We can't afford Bellingham anymore. We've got to put our sights elsewhere. You knew how much Bellingham has been costing for 2 years, and you were leading the race. The reason what's happened is Bellingham's people have told you, if you ain't in the Champions League, we ain't joining. He's rejected you. But fans can't handle the bitter truth anymore. So the clubs go, we are not going to pay exorbitant amount. And this is, I guarantee you, I bet my bottom dollar, if Jurgen Klopp is say City sign Bellingham or United sign Bellingham, we're going to move on to that later, and Liverpool don't, and Klopp is questioned live on TV on the press conference, why didn't you do it? He will bring up the current state of the world financially, and spending that much on one singular player isn't right. And Liverpool fans will go, oh, he's so great. Give me that nipple. and a bit more sucking on that nipple.
I've seen Liverpool
what
fans
they'll
since that
do.
news came out saying, yeah, but his price has gone up because Chelsea ruined the market by signing Enzo.
No, he was always around that level. It's crazy. But yeah, on Tottenham, look, they're gonna look to bring Almiron in or Luis Enrique potentially. Those managers said they would talk to Tottenham. They're open to the idea. But
If either of them two managers go there, right, especially Enrique, like I could understand why the sporting manager would go there. I get it, right? But at the same time, if you're Luis Enrique, you are not going there. All you've got to do is phone up Conte or Jose, yeah, and just speak to them. Like, have they got any Spanish players that play for Tottenham? Like, because he could phone up any of the players or any players that he's worked with previously.
No.
I don't know. Or people, they all talk, Terry. He might even have the same agent as Conte for all we know. I don't know. Yeah,
he may do.
You've got to put a couple of calls in, do your background checks, and say, well, no, actually, you want to steer well clear of there, mate. And if Enrique's got anything about him, he'd look at what happened to Jose getting sacked a week before the final. Now he'd have a look at Conte coming out talking how he's talking. Say, I'm staying well away from there, mate. Like, no chance. For me, I think Enrique ends up at PSG.
That's a great shout. Just moving on out of the interest of time, because we do this every week. We spend like 50 minutes on the first subject, and then we have 20 minutes to go for the last 3 or 4, and we can't go into them. And we've got a really big debate to do later as well. Harry Kane. It's reported that Harry Kane will now force a move away from Tottenham this summer after yet another trophy this season. Man United reportedly are leading that race. I think we all know Man United are kind of leading that race. But it could cost as high as £100 million. First question, do you think Harry Kane will leave? Secondly, is he worth £100 million to Man United?
I'll answer the second one first. He is worth the money. 30 years old, bags 20 plus goals every season. Very, very gifted footballer, but an elite level goal scorer as well. So yeah, I think he's definitely worth the money. Is he leaving Tottenham? No, I don't think he is. Because firstly, I don't think he will pay that money for him. I think that you'll look at something a little bit different, some profile of player a little bit younger, perhaps. I don't know. I also don't think he's that suited to your team. And the reason I say that is you have Bruno floating around. Yeah, you've got Harry Kane dropping into midfield. They're getting each other's way. I genuinely, unless Ten Hag says to him, stay in the penalty box in and around it, but then you take something slightly away from Harry Kane's game. Yeah, because he likes to float out to the right. He likes to come into midfield and pick the ball up, spray the ball to Son or Kulusevski. But I don't see you buying him. I think you need somebody slightly younger with a bit of pace as well that can still score goals, but maybe not as many goals. And I don't know who that player is. I'm just like sitting there just telling you what I think. But in terms of will he leave, I don't think he's leaving, mate. He's a serial loser, Terry. Like, real talk, yeah. Like, I like him. I think he's a top player. I really do. But I think that there's only a couple of clubs in the Premier League, 3 clubs maybe, that could buy him. You, Man City, and Chelsea. Well, Man City ain't going to buy him. That ship sailed. Yeah. You lot, I don't think really want him. I think that, like I said, you go for a younger profile player, different attributes maybe that can, stay at the club for 5 to 10 years rather than 3 or 4 years. Yeah. But the only other club is Chelsea. Chelsea would pay the money. Chelsea do need a striker, and he would fit Chelsea a lot better than he would fit Man United, in my opinion. The only thing is, Chelsea and Tottenham have this rivalry, and Harry Kane is a Tottenham legend as it stands. He's their all-time top goal scorer. So if that is the only option he has, he's snookered. He ain't going abroad because he wants to break the Premier League record. So I think he's staying. And if he stays, I've got no sympathy for him whatsoever when he retires with 0 trophies. Because the guy is too good to have gone through his whole career without winning a trophy. Like, he's an unbelievably gifted footballer, man, and an elite level goal scorer. And if he stays there, I've got no sympathy for him whatsoever, mate.
Listen, I'll have no sympathy for him if he stays. I think there is a chance he leaves. I think depending on who the manager they bring in could change it. And Luis Enrique, if they promised budgets, I think Harry Kane could get suckered in again to that, we could win trophies here. But I think you could have Luis Enrique come in with Poch as the assistant manager, and Ruben coming in as the cone man. I still don't think Spurs are winning trophies. I just don't see it happening. I really, really don't. Jose couldn't do it. Conte couldn't do it. Poch couldn't do it. I don't think Luis Enrique will win them trophies either. Harry Kane wants them. I don't believe the PR that they're not that important to him. I think breaking the Premier League scoring record is massive for him. But I also believe if you said to him now, listen, you'd be 1 goal off that Premier League record by the time you retire, but you'd have 2 or 3 Prems, some League Cups, an FA Cup, and a Champions League. But you don't get that record, I think he takes those trophies. If you were to ask him quietly, he wouldn't say that now because he's a Spurs player, but I believe he would pick those trophies as long as he was an important part of them being won, if that makes sense. Personally, where I disagree with you is on Man United. I think he would fit perfectly. Actually, Bruno Fernandes this year has been in a much more... He's changed positions on a number of games where we've had holes, but when he's even played in midfield in the attacking role, he's making a far less runs into the box. He's been sitting a lot deeper. I think 2 things happen if Kane comes in. You can release Bruno back into making those. We saw him make a run very late against Fulham at the weekend into the box.
Third goal.
Yeah, that's the Bruno I miss. But we haven't had the rest of the personnel to do that because we need him sitting a bit deeper. You could either switch him and Kane round, one drops deep, one runs on, vice versa. I think that could work as a very good couple. I also understand a lot of United fans want Usherman, who is... I listened to the Berbatov talk about him today, and Berbatov was just singing his praises no end. Intelligence, his touch, his ability, his speed. He should be a Man United player. And I totally get why Man United fans want him. And if we end up with Victor Osimhen, you are not going to see me complain around, I would prefer Kane, but I look at it as a choice between getting a Ferrari or a Lamborghini. If I get both, I'm happy with either, even though I might have a slight preference. But I think Harry Kane to Man United, with how we've been using Weghorst, I see it as a like for like, but an upgrade from a Ford Fiesta to a Lamborghini. That is how I see the upgrade being. The way he moves and passes that ball, Kane, I reckon you get 4, maybe 5 solid seasons out of him. £100 million is worth it. Now, the risk is that Osimhen ends up at a rival club and you never get to sign him in the future. That is what Man United have got to get right. You know, do we get and the thing is, if we go on to win leagues and Champions League with Harry Kane as part of our team, it doesn't really matter where the other strikers go because Man United missed out on many players in the 90s and noughties under Fergie. And we never really, as fans, looked back and went, oh, I'm so sad we didn't sign
this guy. I wish we had him, yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
do you know who would be good for you?
Go on.
I was going to say, Ivan Toney would be perfect for you lot. Yeah, that was maybe the type of striker I was talking about when I was saying a slightly different profile of player. He ain't got the passing accuracy and range of Kane, yeah, but he's got a bit more pace about him. Yeah, he tends to stay more in the box, but he can come deep. His link-up play's underrated, but he's nowhere near as good as Kane. Yeah. But the guy can put the ball in the back of the net, and he's doing it at a club that is punching way above its weight this season, especially, but he's done it consistently, Tony. And not only that, he ain't going to cost 100 mil, and he's younger by 3 or 4 years. So I think that 60 mil, that would be a better player for Man United than to go and get a guaranteed 20 from Kane. I think that Tony wouldn't hinder or slow your team down from achieving elsewhere on the pitch, whereas I do think Kane would. Bro, I don't know why. I just think Kane, it'd be all about him.
I understand that. And Ivan Toney is a player I rate. I wouldn't mind him at Man United. I don't know if Toney is good enough to lead the line for Man United 50 games a season. Now, people will question mark Harry Kane as well. This comment here from Ola says, if Osimhen wins the league this year, which he's going to do, would you take him over Kane because he's experienced of winning a trophy? That is a tick in the box of Victor Osimhen over Harry Kane. My reasoning for wanting Harry Kane isn't because I think he's a better striker than Osimhen. It's because the skill set he possesses, I think, gets more out of the players around that's already in the Man United squad, slightly more than Osimhen does, because his passing range of the ball means as he gets that little bit older, the likes of Kane and Anthony, Sancho, Bruno can all be fed and created for by Harry Kane as well. That's my reason for wanting him. Equally, I do get the challenge, and it's one of the challenges where I'm not going to fight back against it too much because it holds a lot of water. But he's a bottle job. He hasn't won any trophies. Would he handle the pressure of a Man United shirt on his back? That's a great question. We've seen a lot of players come to this club from multiple teams, whether it be from Premier League rivals or European rivals.
Yeah, Falcao.
They've
like
put on the
top
Man
players.
United shirt, and it has been far too heavy for them. And I think but that same argument can be leveled at Victor Osimhen. The shirt may be a little bit too heavy for him as well. That's an argument for everybody. You know, in the summer, everyone was deliberating: should we get Poch? Should we get Ten Hag? Well, not the summer, before we signed Ten Hag in April. And there was a tick box over both of them. Can they? But either of them handle Man United? We don't know. That was for both of them. So it's something I'm not going to stress about, because every player that joins Man United, there is a question mark as to whether or not they can handle the pressure, unless they're joining, in my opinion, from Real Madrid, because they're the only other team in the world, and maybe Barcelona, that has that same level of fan scrutiny, media scrutiny combined. That's why Casemiro has come in. It's easy. Zlatan, by the way, he's played for some of the biggest teams in the world when they were in their pomp at their highlights. He came in and handled it as an example. You know, I actually think if we'd have signed Pogba after, even if Pogba weren't at Juve and Pogba was at Real Madrid for 4 or 5 years and we signed him, he'd have handled it. It would have been a different player, because he would have been nurtured the same as, it'd have been able to handle that and create more consistency. But yeah, I would pick Harry Kane personally right now. I'm not going to yield from that opinion. But as I've stated, I don't go into these weird polarized groups of, Team Osimhen, Team Kane, whichever one we sign. And I believe if Man United's takeover happens, it will go through. Now, on Man United's takeover, there's some more breaking news this afternoon that Joel and Avram Glazer are still they're still kind of retain reservations about selling United, and they don't know whether to sell completely or take a minority investment. I just want to say to Man United fans, I see a lot of people putting this in the comment section. Yes, this news has come out. Yes, they have told the press this, but the Glazers have done this twice now, both times, just before the deadline of the submissions for the first and second bid. Oh, we've got reservations about not actually selling. That is a ploy to get the biggest bids possible. Honestly, I'm 95% sure they're selling. I wouldn't be panicking. And
of course they're selling, Terry. Come
100%. There's no way they're sitting down for 10 hours with 5 separate parties each if they're not interested. They may be looked at as clowns as football owners, but as business people, they wouldn't waste the time of their fellow billionaire community, because they all know each other. Like, most billionaires know all the other billionaires.
Yeah, come on.
There's not
that many billionaires.
There's not that many, especially in the West anyway. The West, there's not very many. They know each other. They are not wasting each other's time. They are selling. And this is the one thing I would say. A lot of people think, if you sign Kane at 30 years old, I've got to spend money again in 3 years. I don't think people can comprehend how much money we're now going to have with these new owners. Forget what they'll pump in themselves. Us being debt-free puts 150 and no dividends, puts 150 million pounds a season back in our bank accounts to spend.
On top of what you've already got.
On top of what we already
And you can already outspend pretty much everyone in the planet.
It's crazy.
It's mad. You can genuinely go and do 300 million quid every summer.
Yeah, this here says,
and then go and do 100 in January.
Yeah, this here says United can't promise Kane a major trophy. I understand that. And that's why I think if City had an opening and City and United were fighting for him, I think he'd go there. If it wasn't for the rivalry of Tottenham with Chelsea and Arsenal, I think either of those teams he would pick over Man United. Maybe not Chelsea right now, but he'd pick Arsenal over Man United right now. But Arsenal,
he is one of our own, Terry. He came through our academy.
True. But the problem that you've got is that Arsenal and City and Liverpool, for one reason or another, don't have space for Harry Kane. And we are more likely to win him trophies than staying at Tottenham. And in my opinion, though, Thanos, with Harry Kane in this Man United team, and the next player that we're going to talk about today, because this news story has come out in a massive way. If Man United sign Harry Kane and a midfielder of Jude Bellingham's level this summer, we are challenging for that Premier League title. And I believe we can win that Premier League title.
I think you need a bit more than that.
With further investment. And I think
you need a bit more than that.
So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about it. We'll come back to that as a talking point in a second. The news about Jude Bellingham that's come out today is that the Man United's board, and a lot of the board will remain with the new owners in the short term. They have stated that they are confident once the takeover is complete that they can land Jude Bellingham ahead of rivals Real Madrid, Liverpool, and Manchester City. Now, how good a player do you think Jude Bellingham is?
I think he's quality, but I think he's mad overhyped. Like, he's a very, very good player. Let's not even go there. He is a top player. But Terry, the hype around this lad is insane. Like we've seen this hype with Jadon Sancho. Like, and he come to Manchester, and excuse me, I know he played very well against Fulham the other day, but other than that, it's here and there. Like one game here, one game there. Like that Bundesliga, I do not rate it one bit. And listen, I know Erling Haaland's coming in and wiped the floor with the Premier League, but he's just different. He's one in a generation type talent, isn't he? I don't think Bellingham is a one in a generation talent. Like he's not generational. Like we've seen Bellingham type players before, and he's doing it in a league. And fair play to him, because I think they are top of the league. I think Bayern lost again at the weekend, so he's helping them get to the top of the table. But this is the Premier League, mate. Yeah, we've seen bigger and better midfielders come into this league and get absolutely ripped to shreds. So 150 mil, 130 mil, 120 mil, I get the price tag, I understand it, but he ain't worth anywhere near that. Let's be real with it. And there is only, again, a handful of clubs that will pay it. I think that if Man City go and do 130 mil on him, they could get rid of Calvin Phillips for 50 somewhere else or 40 somewhere else. So all of a sudden it's then like, what, 110 if they do 150 on him. Yeah, like we know Man City could go and do 100. They've done it on Jack Grealish. We know you could go and do 100. You've done it on Anthony. Yeah, we're talking like 150 here, apparently. So Real Madrid haven't made a real marquee signing for a long, long time. It wouldn't surprise me if he ends up at Madrid. Right, and he's not worth the dough. If I'm being completely honest, I really do like watching him play. I think he's a fantastic player. Right, but if I was to put a price tag on him, I'd say about 75, 80 mil. Like, because there are other midfielders out there. Declan Rice, slightly different player, I get it. Yeah, but Declan Rice doing it week in, week out in the Premier League. You know, there are other players out there that you could go and get that are equally as good. But because he's playing in the Bundesliga, which is a crap league, in my opinion, for me, it ain't even a top 5 league. I'll put the Portuguese league above that. Like, real talk. Yeah, I would. Mate, technical ability in the Portuguese leagues, light years clearer most in Europe. Like, the leagues, that Bundesliga, until this season, Bayern win it every year. I think they won 10 in a row, didn't they? So, you know, it's them against the rest. Like, but I don't know, man. I look at the amount of players that come from that Bundesliga into the Premier League. And if you go back over the last 5 to 10 years, not really many of them have hit the dizzy heights that they did in Bundesliga, did they? So
I do hear that. I think that's a fair point. I really like Jude Bellingham. I like what I see in terms of how he plays. Is he overpriced? I get why people would say that. What Bellingham comes with, though, is huge commercial potential, which is why his price is so much higher, because he's a tall, handsome, good-looking young man. And when you have looks and great footballing ability combined, you think about, I always wonder, because I think Wayne Rooney was technically a better football player than David Beckham, and I rate David Beckham. If Wayne Rooney, as an Englishman, had Beckham's looks, but Rooney's ability, the amount of money that he would have been paid as a footballer would have doubled, because the commercial opportunities are so much higher. And we have to remember how important image rights are when it comes to the valuation of a player. The image rights of, it's the reason why the Saudis are paying Ronaldo so much money, is because Saudi Arabia essentially now owns his image rights. So Saudi Arabia can use his image on anything they want now, within reason. You know, there'll be some stipulations around not promoting certain behaviors or attitudes or anything like that, but he can be used on anything. They own those rights, and they pay him so much money for it.
No, I get that, but you did the same with Sancho when you signed Sancho. It was the same height.
So I totally. So again, I'm trying to separate the two different situations here. So I understand why the money's high. That's why I'm worried about this deal. I would be worried about, again, Man United's a different animal in terms of, can you handle the pressure of playing for us? You then couple that with a 120, 130 million pound price tag. I've just got a feeling it's not going to work for us. As much as I rate him as a player, I almost don't want us to do this. I almost want us to take that money and invest it in 2 or 3 other players that could come into this team and deliver. So I have no issue with his ability. I think he's going to be a good footballer, but I think the price tag, coupled with signing for Man United, is just, I've got a horrible gut feeling it would be a bad mix. Equally, as much as Man United feel they're confident they're going to get him, I believe he's getting Real Madrid anyway. I don't even think City could get him. City could do it with where they are, the money they have, their manager. but I think he's going to end up going to Real Madrid. That's where I personally think he's going to end up going. So this is a transfer that I'll report on. It's probably going to be if and when our takeover happens, we are going to get linked to everyone anyway, and we will talk about it on the terrace. But like I always say to people, just because it's reported by an official media outlet as a deal being on,
don't mean it's going to happen.
Doesn't mean I'm gonna personally think it's happening. And I said something, I tweeted me a minute ago, and he said, "Why do you think this deal's happening?" I said, "Have you watched the show yet?" He said, "No." I said, "Well, watch the show and then comment on my tweets, because I'm telling you what the news is. That's not my opinion on the matter. So I don't think Man United will get Jude Bellingham. However,
there was somebody in the chat that, sorry to cut you off, there's somebody in the chat that said Real Madrid, FFP and all of this, yeah? Mate, they're the King's Club. They're the Royal Club of Spain, mate. They get whatever they want. The real talk. I'm not even chatting crap. They are the royalty club of Spain.
And they might sell someone. They might move somebody on. They might do something.
Well, Eden Hazard will be out the door. I know we're coming to him in a minute. Yeah, they're going to probably get rid of Carvajal. They need a rebuild. Modric is probably going to be in the last. He's probably going to do one more year. Toni Kroos is on his last legs. Benzema's signing a new deal until the end of next year, so he's going to do one more year. They need some marquee players in there, Real Madrid. They've got Camavinga, they've got Tchouaméni in there. Now imagine getting Bellingham in there. Them three in midfield, that's them sorted for 10, 12 years.
No, I understand. I want to go to some of these comments for a second here. This is Terry. Terry's so funny. What does looks have to do with if a player is good enough to start? Absolutely nothing. I wasn't talking about him starting for Man United. I was talking about his price being higher because of his image rights. Rooney, I use Rooney as an example because he had massive image rights looking how he looks. Imagine he had David Beckham's looks. Highly talented footballers that are good looking, attractive, have much higher image rights. You combine a brilliant ability with good looks, you're always going to be more expensive because of the marketing and commercial connection to you. That is what I'm hoping you listened to what I said before you commented, because that's what sensible people do. This comment here says, not sure United will chat. I'll come back to this one in a minute, my friend. Bellingham to United makes no sense. In my opinion, in our system, he replaces Bruno. We need a dribbler, progressive demon like Frankie de Jong, not box to box. Pogba 2.0 if it happens. And I think a lot of people agree with you. And again, I rate Bellingham high. And maybe it is a tactical situation. There's something about the deal that doesn't sit right with me as a United fan. And I don't personally think it would quite work. So I think it's a really good comment that you made there, my friend. This here says they have been warned it will be catastrophic if they stay, and if they're losing way more money if they stay, they'll never see these numbers again. Yeah, I agree. The Glazers will leave Manchester United. There is almost no doubt about that in my mind, that they will leave Manchester United. I am almost 100% sure that they will leave. I really, really am sure that they will leave the football club. Definitely. I really, really, really do believe that will happen. Genuinely, I do. So I think you're absolutely right there, my friend. This here says, hipster's choice. I like Ramos from Benfica. Not sure if he's ready, but I like his profile. And what I've seen of him in the Champions League reminds me of Aguero. Yeah, he's a very talented player. You're absolutely spot on there. Very talented. He had that standout game at the World Cup where everybody went crazy for him. But I like Ramos from Benfica. I think he's a very, very talented player, as you just stated there. This is my favorite comment of the day. It says, "Bro, humble yourself, pioneer. It's YouTube, bruv. You ain't doing anything pioneering." Do you know what I like about that? I mean, I was the first person to ever do a watch along. It is what it is. But it isn't about, the word pioneering is what it is. The likes of Robbie's, the Redmans, the Goldbridges, people like myself, the people that started football fan content, no one used to do panel shows after games until
not live anyway.
Yeah, until the Football Terrace did them. And so we have all done these things. That's why all I say is when it comes to a younger member of the football content community debating someone from the older generation, don't give it the whole, you're too old to be here. Like, no, bruv, without them, you literally wouldn't be here. So it's true. And if you don't like that, Joda, you can just go cry about it because it's facts. Right? I don't know what I'm not even going to insult you over it. It's absolute cast iron facts there, my friend.
Thanks for watching, though.
Yeah, cheers. Due to City, we get who we want, Haaland here.
I wouldn't be surprised by that. I can't lie, because that Calvin Phillips has done nothing and he'll be gone. Yeah, so they will get about 40, 50 million. They sell very well, Man City. They always get decent money for their players, especially in recent years anyway. But yeah, if they go and get rid of him for about 40, 50 million, that makes it a little bit easier. Plus the fact that Erling Haaland played with Jude Bellingham, right?
Yes, he did. He did. I think there's
Maybe
a relationship thing
work
there.
with Pep as well. Me personally, I think he's going Madrid, but I wouldn't be surprised one bit if he ends up at City.
Yeah, there's loads of things going on, but I think from my point of view with this, what we were saying about earlier, I think if Man United do sign Harry Kane, and if they add a top class midfielder, we know there's problems at Barcelona still. They can't even register Gavi because of the changing of the rules there. And Gavi's a guy they want. I think if Man United sign a Frankie de Jong, a really progressive ball playing midfielder, Harry Kane, and a bit more backup in that defensive line, and probably a new goalkeeper, because I think
you definitely need a keeper, 100.
So
And
I
you
think
need a centre back as well.
So I get it. If we signed, and I think we can sign those 4 players in the summer. I think those 4. If we signed Diego Costa as an example, no, his name isn't Diego Costa, is it? It's
Diego Costa's older than you, Terry.
What's the name of the goalkeeper? It's something. What's his name? The goalkeeper at Porto. What have I forgot his name for? His name has literally just left my head.
Diogo Costa.
Diogo Costa. You're not Diego. Yeah, Diogo Costa. I knew it was that, and then I said it and I got it slightly wrong. If Man United sign Costa, if we bring in Frankie de Jong, if we bring in a Harry Kane or an Osimhen to this team right now, and then we do add another quality centre back as an option, Man United will challenge for the Premier League title next year with Ten Hag here. Adding that extra quality into our team, we're only a handful of wins now this season away from being in the title race, a handful of better results away from it. And I believe those signings will do it. That's why, for me, this takeover is key. Further investment is key, because Arsenal were brilliant. We know how good City are. They're going to improve in the summer. If we go out there and have a summer like that, 4 key staple signings, we'll probably bring in 5 or 6 players, but I'm talking 4 main players there. A brand new top quality centre back, Costa in goal. I want that guy. I think he looks really, really talented. Of course, a midfielder, Frankie de Jong's my number 1 choice. Harry Kane or Osimhen up front, and genuinely, Man United will challenge for the title next year, and I will make us one of the favourites, because we're going to build a winning mentality throughout this season. We'll invest brilliantly in the summer. There'll be a new feeling around the club with these new owners as well, and a feeling of a sense and a need to achieve more. You couple that all together. We've seen the improvements at Newcastle since serious people took over. You invest it with that at the same time, and you build upon what Ten Hag has already created. Man United will be in that title race next year without a shadow of a doubt in my mind. 110%.
I think you need about 7, 8 players
to challenge for the title.
Maybe not to challenge. Well, I don't know. If you want to compete on all fronts, like you're doing very well at the moment, but this international break's come at the right time for you and for us, I think. But you need a right back. Yeah, Delo and Wan-Bissaka, as good as Wan-Bissaka's been, one of them's not probably going to be there next season. So you need a right back as backup. I think you need definitely a centre back. Definitely 100%, maybe 2. Yeah, I think you definitely need 2 midfielders. Yeah, Scott McTominay just ain't the guy. Yeah, Eriksen might not be there at the end of the season. Like, I think he's back after international break. He's been decent since he's got there, but I think you'll be kind of phasing him out. Yeah, obviously Sabitza's on loan. You've got Fred and Casemiro. Who else you got?
But I think that's the point, though. If you look at midfield, I get your point about right back, and that's probably an area we need to look at as well. But I think the club will look at Julian Timber again as an example. It'll be someone the club goes back to look at. In midfield, Casemiro is going to be here as it is. Eriksen won't be phased out next season. That's 2 or 3 years' time. Eriksen's part of this midfield moving forward. I think we'll look at Sabitzer, and it'll be a player the club looks to bring in.
I think you'll keep him. He's a good player.
As an option. So if you say you've got those players there, and then you put Frankie de Jong into that mix, and then you've got Fred. If you've got a midfield 5 that you use generally in a 2, and Bruno Fernandes, because he's part of the midfield. If you have Bruno Fernandes, Casemiro, Frankie de Jong, Christian Eriksen, Fred, and Sabitzer, I think that's a good enough midfield combination to win a Premier League and compete in other trophies. From an attacking point of view, if you say we had Victor Osimhen, we use Osimhen as the example. Usherman is the number 9 with Rashford, with Sancho, with Anthony, with Garnacho that's being developed, and maybe one more attacker. I think
Who's the lad you've got on loan? You got the lad on loan. What's his name?
you've got Ahmad. Ahmad looks pretty decent.
Ahmad
So
Diallo, that's him.
yeah, Ahmad Diallo. Yeah, maybe he comes back and looks real good. And I think in midfield, I'm talking about one main buy. Maybe you bring in Sabitzer, and you may then look at, again, a player that I would also maybe try and look at. Maybe you don't sign Sabitzer, and what you actually say is, well, we've got Frankie de Jong that's coming in, that is Sabitzer, who is the position that Sabitzer's in right now. And maybe what we do is look at someone like a Caicedo and say, we're bringing you into this team as a player to play now, but a longer-term vision with the Casemiro deal. There's multiple options, but if we improve those key areas, which I think which we're going to have the facilities to do, we challenge for that league title next year, and we speed this process up again, because we're not far off now. We're not a million miles away from it right now. We're 4 or 5 players, in my opinion, from being able to do it, and that's why I'm so excited about this takeover, because we've found the right manager, we've found the right culture. We just need somebody to supercharge it and maintain it. And there was a comment that came through that said, Terry, new owners, it doesn't mean that you'll get, like, new owners means instant success, but we're having success now. We've just won a trophy. We're in the semi-finals of the FA Cup. We're in the quarterfinals of the Europa League and seen as the favourites to win it. I believe we can win another trophy this year. If we win,
when has the Qatari ownership never worked?
Well, but this is it.
Is there a club out there where they've got Qatari owners and they've never won anything? I don't know.
I look at it this way: instant success. I didn't say we'd win the league year one. I said we will challenge and be one of the favourites. So be very careful when it comes to interpreting my words wrong. We will challenge and we will be there, because you add that level of quality to a squad that's got the right culture in it already, where the atmosphere and winning mentality is right. It works. It's why the first year of signings under your manager Arteta weren't so great. Some of the younger players haven't, the Congo hasn't done so well. But your main signings for the last 2 years, your big money signings and your main first team players have all been pretty good. Nearly all of them have been pretty good. And that's because they're joining a club with the right culture now. And that's why if you guys go and sign Declan Rice in the summer, he's more than likely to be a hit. If Declan Rice joined Arsenal 3 or 4 years ago, maybe not. Because it's about joining clubs in the right phase of your career. That's the one reason why I've still got time for Sancho. Sancho joined at literally the worst time in Man United's modern day history, and he really struggled. If you join a bad environment, you become part of that very, very quickly. So listen, with these new owners coming in, we're going to next levels. And I've said it for a few weeks now. Rivals, you got to be mindful about that.
They're scared, Terry. Are rivals scared?
Man United.
We're going to get this all over again next season, aren't we, with Man United?
Do you know why I use the word scared? It's so funny. I got into a debate yesterday privately with a City fan. And he's like, I don't know why you're saying we're scared when we're not. I said, how do you feel about Arsenal then? He goes, well, I'm worried about them. I'm like, worried. Worried. It's the word scared. Because what you get from men is, I ain't scared, bro. I'm not hiding under my bed. I ain't calling my mum. Yeah, I don't mean scared like
it's a quality buzzword. It's such a good word.
And
because especially when you put it in capitals, it stands out. Oh my God, everyone's scared. It's quality.
But Man United,
we're going to get this again next season with Man U. Keep doing it, man.
Lee, you 100% know, and scared might not be the right word, but Man United,
fearful, worried. It's just another word. You just swallowed the thesaurus.
Very, very quick answer. If Man United sells to the Qataris and they clear,
I'm definitely scared. 100%.
Exactly. It is what it is, and I think people that deny they're not are lying to themselves. You wouldn't banter. You're the biggest club in England, mate. Yeah, despite what Liverpool fans think, you are the biggest club in England, and you've got the money already to outspend everyone. You could compete with Chelsea if you want to. You could have gone and got Enzo for 100 million if you wanted to. You could have gone and got Mudryk if you wanted to. You've got the money, but now you're going to be debt free, and you're going to have new ownership that are not coming in to just play around. They're coming in to win everything. Yeah, absolutely. And debt-free, adding another 100-odd million on top of the budget, well, that's another 1 or 2 players every season. Yeah, all of a sudden, you're going to be up there. And if people are so blind to that and so arrogant to that they think that Man U ain't going to compete, well, they're going to be in for a short, sharp shock, aren't they, when the Qataris take over? But this is what I love. They have been spending. And again, I don't know how many times. This is the last time I've ever explained this on a live show on the terrace. We have spent. It's not so much rattled. It's like this. It's like maybe this is the first time this individual's tuned into one of our shows, and the other Man United channels have, or rival channels definitely haven't, but they haven't done a good enough a job of explaining it. But of course we spent money, but Man United fans have never moaned about a lack of spending at times under the Glazers. It's been who we've spent it on and the projects they were building we knew were failing. We were spending 150 million pounds on summers during failing projects that weren't
80 million on Maguire.
It's really crazy. We're gonna go through some super chats now. This one says, I think Harry Kane, a midfield partner for Casemiro and another forward is enough for United to challenge next season.
They need defenders, man. They need centre backs. If Varane and Martinez get injured, you need a backup centre back that's quality.
No, we do need another centre back, and I think right back wise as well.
Maybe two. Like when Fergie was winning everything, like you had 4 centre backs.
That's why Timber's such a great option, because Timber would be a bit like Ben White. So centre back and right back, he can play both proficiently. So that's almost what we need. Someone that can come in. Tommy Yasu would be a great signing right now for Man United. But yeah, he'd be a great signing. This super chat here says, if Ten Hag is as good as Arteta, then the squad is enough. But I think people are overplaying how good Man United's squad is. There's so many players.
It's a comfort. It's a comfort thing. It's a coping mechanism. Yeah, because like if Arsenal don't win the league, then that comment is, oh well, Ten Hag. Oh, he only won the League Cup, but look, we were at top of the table for 9 out of 10 months or whatever. The thing is, if you go through your squad, your goalkeeper's good enough. Yeah, he is a good goalkeeper, but he's on the way out. Yeah, let's be real with that. He's not the De Gea he was 3-4 years ago. Your centre backs. Yeah, you've got Lindelof and Maguire. They're nowhere near good enough for you want to win a title or compete. Yeah, Luke Shaw, fair play to him this season. He's done very, very well. But again, I'm still jury out on him, mate. One good season out of 10 ain't good enough for me.
And just keeping it on them guys, you're absolutely spot on. On top of that, I've seen a few Arsenal fans do this online. I'm like, okay, so you're saying that Ten Hag should win it with this squad because look what Arteta's doing. But at the same time, if people start attacking the quality of your squad, you'll go, no, we've got brilliant players. So what is it?
The best way to put that is ask that fella there, how many Man United's players would you say got Arsenal to get in the starting 11?
That's the big question. This super chat says, big up Terry. If United get Kane, Spurs will be relegated. New owners. That'd be hilarious if it happened. With EH9. Oh, Erling Haaland out. Will City do better with a false 9? But he's not out. He's going to be. Haaland will be fit for the Liverpool game. He is not out. He is just resting over the international period. No doubt about it. This here says, Terry, if you guys get rid of Slabhead, would you want Timber? I
think he meant I'm Arteta in.
Now Lee, come by for it. No, he's in a place. Altair. Is that near you? I don't know.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant Arteta now.
No, he's in Spain.
Yeah, that's not far. That's not a million miles away.
To answer this super chat, yeah, I would take Timber. I'd take Timber. Yeah, 100. And I didn't miss your super chat. It was when we star them and we read them out when it's relative, but right to. But absolutely, I would do that. This year says, not sure United will challenge next year, even with signings. I think it's premature just because the system takes time to develop. Maybe the year after, players need to know how to do it in every scenario. That's a fair point, but I believe we will. And if we bring in the caliber of players we're talking about, I'm not going to beat about the bush. I'll expect us to challenge. And maybe not win it, but challenge. There's a difference between winning it and challenging it, clearly, because coming second ain't winning it. But I believe there has to be a jump and an improvement. And the only improvement next season on this year, league-wise, is challenging because we're in third place. I don't want to maintain third. I want to go to that next level, AJ. So that's what I would expect.
It also depends on what else you win. If you win anything else this season, confidence is massive. I've just Googled how far that place is. I thought it was around the corner. It's 5.5 hours away. I'll get to Madrid quicker.
This guy here says, Terry, we'll give you Lukaku and Aubameyang plus 30 million. Now, you're all right, bruv. You're all right. You can keep them.
Lakaka back. That'll be hashtagging on Twitter.
Yeah, you can absolutely keep them. We're not having him back. Viewers, make sure you're smashing like buttons and subscribing, but clicking on the bell notification button because the algorithm is not your friend. And you need to know when we go live. Put the push notifications on. Get that done right now for us, please. Also, hit the like button and subscribe to the show. There's a funny chat earlier. Says, Terry, you're meant to be a United fan. Why do you D-ride so hard for Arsenal? bruv, this is what I'd say is this. I'm, do you know what it is?
Because he's scared.
I'm going to give you an analogy here. I'm a straight guy. I'm into women, but I'm so comfortable in my sexuality, so comfortable in it that I can be in the presence of somebody that is gay and not feel weirded out. I can be in a bar where there's gay people and not panic and start, oh my God, because I'm very secure. As a Man United fan, I'm very secure in the love I have for my club to be able to praise another team when they rightfully deserve it. Now, you calling it D-riding and you getting all, oh, I can't believe a Man United fan saying they're good. What kind of insecurities are you hiding, my friend? Both footballing and maybe personal. Let us know in the comment section, my bro. Let us know in the comment section. Someone actually said to me the other day, that's sus. It's not really sus, bro. I'm very comfortable in myself to know, like, it's fine. I can be around it. If you're not comfortable, then maybe you're hiding a little something. Maybe there's a little something hiding. I don't know. But
you're not 5 years old. It ain't playground. My team's better than your team. My player's better. It ain't all about that. You're a football fan, Terry. You run a football channel.
Rivals are insecure about how good Arsenal are. So when they hear another rival go, yeah, they're really good this year. Well, why are you saying that? Because they are. What do you want me to say? Arsenal are crap when they're top of the league and it's one of their best league campaigns in their history. I can't do that. I'm a grown up. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's not terrible logic. You can't ban. If it's terrible, beat the logic. We'll open up the phone lines, and if anyone can stumble bum me £1,000 cash in your bank accounts, 110%. But you won't be able to do it. I'm absolutely like, if you could explain to me why I'm wrong to say Arsenal were very good, and if the irony is we're not scared, but then you attack me for saying Arsenal were good, what are you then? You're fearful of something. Terry is explaining what a real football fan is. The thing is, I'm a football fan, but I actually have a job. And the partners that invested in the Football Terrace, one of the stipulations of my contract is I have to be unbiased. Doesn't mean I can't have strong opinions, but what I can't do is say the sky is red when it is clearly blue. When Arsenal were top of the league and playing well, I can't sit there and, like, they don't want me to sit here and be deliberately contrary and create narratives I don't believe in. They're like, we want you to be honest. So that's a contractual obligation that I have with my partners. So I'm allowed to say I think Spurs are really bad this year, as long as I back it up and maintain it. What I can't do is what TikTokers do. Every 5 minutes have a different opinion on things. So it's crazy. It's mad. And do you know what it is? Sometimes my takes people aren't going to agree with. Liverpool fans don't like the fact this week that I've said that.
Oh, I see that. I see your TikTok video.
True, but it's true. They're not one of the great. They're a very good team, but they're not one of the greatest Premier League teams.
The comments crack me up. Yeah, the comments will go, yeah, but they got 99 points.
Don't care. It's not a trophy. And this Liverpool fan says
they did win a trophy on 99 points.
But let me just say though, no, I'm sorry. I was talking about the year they got 97 points and didn't win the league. Sorry, I apologize.
I get what you were saying on that though. You were basically saying the amount of the amount of hype they're getting when they've only won one Premier League title in that 8-year period or whatever. But you know what? Somebody came up with a very good comment in that TikTok comment section and said, okay, how many trophies did Fergie win in his first 8 years?
But no one's calling that Fergie team one of the greatest of all time.
Well, I don't know. There was no social media back then.
Nobody was. My point isn't that they're not a brilliant team. It isn't that Klopp isn't a great manager. It isn't that Klopp isn't a world-class manager. It isn't that they were the best. They were the best team in the world when they were doing it. And this Liverpool fan here says I'm biased. For 2 years on every show when we spoke about Liverpool, if it came up and it was relevant, I said they were the best team in the world. That isn't biased. That's me being honest. But my honest opinion is there have been at least 5 or 6 other Premier League teams that are greater in terms of legacy than this current Liverpool one. That is all I've
a picture of a Napoli player.
As a Liverpool fan, he's very confused. Will here says, Terry, I would love to have a job like yours, earning and talking about the greatest sport in the world. Big up to you, mate. I have to admit, slightly jealous, but in a positive way. Look, I love the job that I've got, but this is the commitment I made when I partnered with the people I'm with now. I said I would always be honest, because what I don't want is I don't ever want to be clipped up. You could probably clip me up for something I said 5 years ago to something I say now.
I can clip you up for something you said in the summer.
But the difference is with me.
Liverpool win the league.
Yeah. I could be clipped up for that, but that was an honest opinion. What you'll never see me do is say, Bellingham's a baller. Can't wait for him to join Man United. And then he joins Liverpool, and then I start doing videos about actually how bad he is. That is the kind of content that I just don't enjoy making. And the people I partnered with also hate that kind of content. So there's an agreement in place that says you need to be, essentially, the words in my contract are intellectually honest about your opinions. We don't care what your opinions are, but there has to be the maintaining of logic needs to remain. And I've got a contractual obligation to do it. But the reason why it's easy for me to is because I've always done that. I've always done it. I'll always praise the best teams when they're the best teams. I'll always praise the bad, condemn the bad teams when they're bad. I never change my tune ever, and that's what I think annoys people. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. It annoys people when their team isn't being. I had a guy that was a member. He used to super chat loads, and then he DM'd me, goes, "I can't watch the show anymore, Till. I love you, but I can't watch it. Why? Because you keep saying how bad Liverpool are." I was like, "Bro, you just lost 5 home games on the bounce. What am I gonna do? Say you're still the best team in the world? How can that work? How can that operate? It's crazy." But anyway, we're gonna move on. Arsenal, another brilliant result for you at the weekend. Dominant, class. But the question is, are you gonna hold off Man City in the home straight, brother?
I've got about 10 minutes left, by the way.
No worries.
Yeah. Are we going to hold off? Yes, I think we will. They're still in the Champions League. I do think they'll beat Bayern Munich. They're still in the FA Cup. They're going to get to the final. They're going to beat Sheffield United. They're 8 points clear. 8 points behind us. When we come back from international duty, obviously we know Erling Haaland will be fit. We know that. But they have they have Liverpool at the Etihad. We just have to hope that they drop points there, because we got Leeds United, and I don't care what anyone tells me, we are beating Leeds United. So if they don't win against Liverpool, and then we go to Anfield the following week and get something, that's the end of that for me. I think it'd be done. They won't give up, obviously, Man City. We've seen enough of that over the years. We know they can chase and put the pressure on. I just don't see us not winning it. Right, if you look at our fixtures, we've got West Ham away. Well, we've not conceded a goal in any London derby this season away. I think Southampton at home, we'll beat them. We've got Leeds at home, we're going to beat them. We've got Brighton at home, as good as Brighton are. I think we'll beat them. We've got Newcastle away. They could still be fighting for top 4 at that point, but I don't see how we're losing that game. They don't score enough goals. Liverpool, cool. We haven't won at Anfield for a long time. The thing with that Liverpool game is they've got to play City, then they've got a midweek game against Chelsea, and then they've got us. By the time they play us, that's 3 games in a week against 3 big teams. They ain't going to win all 3 of them. So I'm kind of hoping that they win the first one, and then I don't care what they do against Chelsea, because I think we'll get something there. And then we've got Man City. We've also got Wolves last day of the season. Who else we got? We've got someone else. Can't remember. I think Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest away, I think it is. If you look at all them teams, I don't really see where we drop points, Terry. The only place I see us losing any points is Man City and Liverpool. Other than that, we've got Chelsea at home as well. Well, come on, let's be real. We'll beat them. So, yeah, I don't see us dropping many points. I think we'll lose one more game this season, either Liverpool or City. But I don't think it'll be Liverpool. I think if we're going to lose, it probably will be City. But I think we'll be so far clear by the time we play them, it won't really knock us off our perch a little bit. I think we'll still be quite clear by then. I know they've got a game in hand as well, which is West Ham as well, but I just don't see it. We're playing well. Saliba being out for a while is a bit of a problem. But having said that, we don't know exactly how long he's out for yet. There's talk it's 6 weeks. It could be 16 days. Who knows? Like, it could be 6 months with Arsenal. We never know, do we? We had this with Trossard. He's going to be out for weeks, and he started the next game. So, yeah, I don't know, man. Jesus back. He's looking sharp when he's been on the pitch. Martinelli's in fine form, 13 league goals. Saka just keeps scoring and assisting. Like, even though at the game at the weekend, I thought the first 25 minutes, I thought we were shocking. And I was like, here we go again, Sporting Lisbon all over again. And then after that Martinelli goal, we absolutely battered them, mate. Like, that was quality. Like, and then Fulham game before that, battered them. Like, the international break for me has come at the right time now. I can't lie, because I think that we are sloppy on set pieces. I think corners we need to work on big time, and hopefully we can maybe do a couple of little behind closed doors friendlies in this next couple of weeks. Yeah, and just keep the level up a little bit, but work on certain things that we haven't been able to do necessarily with games every 3 days. So, yeah, I think we'll win it. I still think we'll win it, mate.
Yeah, I agree. Arsenal are still my favourites. Of course, City can never be completely and utterly written off. and that would be stupid to write City off because they're such a brilliant team. Haaland pulling out of international duty was a dot on the cards to happen because I think without him, if he picks up an injury, if he misses a month, I don't think they can win the league. They're already 8 points behind, and I know they have a game in hand, but this is where Terry Mr. Unbiased comes out. Go back to what I said last year, year before, year after, year before that. Points on the board are worth more than games in hand because you've got them. And the fact that Haaland's pulled out means they're going to come back. They're going to have him fresh. And that game against Liverpool is so massive. It's so massive because if they are to drop any points, say they draw that game and you beat Leeds, you're then 10 points clear. Yes, they still have that game in hand, but the margin for error gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and that pressure builds up.
And the further they go in the Champions League as well, and
of course,
they've got a route to the final. Real Madrid have not been great this season,
and they're fighting, and they're fighting on all three fronts. They're going. This is what's got. What I think's been a little disrespectful from the media this year about City, because we've spoke about it for a couple of weeks now. City are playing for it. They're fighting for a treble. They're fighting to equal the single greatest individual achievement of a team ever in one season. That's winning 3 trophies and the 3 biggest trophies possible. They're aiming to equal what Man United did in 1999. That is so hard to do. The fact that Man United, the reason why that achievement is so high is because the margin for error is minuscule. You can't, if we've gone out of the FA Cup earlier, the Champions League earlier, Man United would have maybe won the league with a lot more points. I always remember that season. Oh, United only got like high 70s. Yeah, smaller 79 points, but those days, much smaller squads playing the same amount of games. It was extremely intense, and that's what makes it such a great achievement. So City are fighting on all fronts, and they shouldn't be written off at any point. But I still just see Arsenal having enough to do it. And the last 2 performances, they've almost been a bit of a finger in the eye to all of the naysayers. Oh, Arsenal not playing well enough. They're conceding too much. They've not been the same dominant Arsenal that we saw at the beginning of the season. And it's almost like they've listened. It's almost like that Gary Neville's been played to them in the dressing room, and they're going, all right, we'll show you. Now, I don't think they've done that.
To be fair, it's the same for City as well, because a lot of people have been saying City ain't been great this season and this and that. They're pretty much there or thereabouts their average points tally at this stage of a season. And they've, I think in the last 10 games they're unbeaten and they've only conceded 6. And they're bagging goals for fun. I think they've scored 30 odd goals in them 10 games.
Mate,
back to back 6s and 7s. I mean, it's just a joke.
Mate, I think they've done brilliant in the last 2 games. Just in the Premier League, still the Palace game, they're struggling. Just in the Premier League, they've had their struggles, and it's just why I put. Listen, I'm not saying City can't do it. Of course, they can beat you to this league title. I just don't think fighting on all 3 fronts with the levels they've got to performance-wise this year, they're gonna quite have enough. I think the reason they've maintained their average points level is because of the sheer individual brilliance they have in their team, and the main guy being Haaland. The amount of goals he has scored this season is what has kept them in this race. And I think most City fans, when they're being honest, would say for the majority of this campaign, they haven't quite been themselves. A lot of people have been saying now since the return of football in December, they will click into gear and be the City we all know and remember. The last 2 games in the FA Cup and the Champions League, they have done that. It remains to be seen whether they can do that in the Premier League. That's why this Liverpool game is so. It's so.
And it's the early kickoff as well, which means by the time that's done, we know what we need to do.
Exactly.
Well, we have to win anyway, but we'll know whether they've caught us up a bit or whether they've dropped points. The thing is, if they beat Bayern, the second leg is on the 19th of April. I think they then play Sheffield United on the 23rd, and then they've got us on the 26th. That's luck for them, really. Well, it's not luck because they've got to that point of the competition, but they can put a few reserves out in that game. So then their main players will have that whole week from Bayern second leg to Arsenal at the Etihad.
But it all depends on the results.
If we do end up getting something out of that game at the Etihad and they're in a semi-final against Madrid or Chelsea, all of a sudden we might be 5, 6, 7 points clear still. With 5, 6 games to go, they might just go sod it. We'll go Champions League all out.
But this is why the margin for error is so low. If they drop point in before the Champions League and Premier League run-ins overlap, which is on its way, if they drop any points before that, they can't rotate at any point. because they can't afford to drop points. If you guys lose against Leeds and they beat Liverpool, they then have the option. So we can maybe play a weaker team here because we've got the game at the Etihad to overtake them and obviously win our game in hand. If they drop any points, it's crazy. And I'm just excited to watch it. I'm still sticking with my original prediction. Well, I'm not. My original prediction was Liverpool. I'm still sticking with my revised prediction that Arsenal will win the league. But I do want to say,
flip-flop, mate.
Yeah. I gave up on. Yeah, I still believe Liverpool are winning it. Actually, is what I think. I think for me, like I kind of look at it along the lines of. I want to say this to City fans. I'm not writing you off as in
you can't write them off. They're too good.
I'm not saying you cannot do it. I'm just saying I think Arsenal will.
There's 30 points. Well, they've got 33 points to play for. We've got 30.
I've got a few super chats to do here. Dams here says, Arteta, my manager, will prove a lot of people wrong, is what Dam says. Typo, says, Lee calls Arsenal fans easily pleased for lauding up for the last-minute winner, but jizzes his knickers for Tierney for 1 assist. Where's the consistency?
Where's the consistency? What are you chatting about? Kieran Tierney's won more trophies than any player at Arsenal, mate. Yeah, Kieran Tierney, by the way, I'm just going to dispel another myth, yeah? Right, another myth. He's always injured. Whoever started that needs locking up, right? Because since Thomas Partey signed for Arsenal, Thomas Partey has missed 254 days, which equates to 37 games. Kieran Tierney's missed 197, which equates to 29 games. And Kieran Tierney's last injury was March last year. So all these people that wanted to bin Tierney and get rid of Tierney and do this, yeah, I've forgotten what a fantastic footballer he is. Yeah, and I've been rating Tierney since he was at Celtic.
I think with Tierney,
if Tierney leaves, I'm not going to sit and cry about it. You know
I think I look at Tierney this way. I think Tierney. I think it might be Tierney that wants to leave for first team football. But I think if you guys can keep him, he's so different to Zinchenko. It gives you a different kind of option. But thank you for the super chat, my bro. This says Martin Odegaard will have Arsenal's Aguero moment versus Wolves.
It'll be done by then already, mate.
It'll be done by Wolves, I would say. Lee, were you wrong of wanting the club to sell Gabriel, the centre back, and Odegaard never going to be good enough for us? Were you wrong about that?
At the time I said it, no. I love these comments. You said you wanted Graham Potter. I've seen that one in the chat today. Well, why wouldn't I want Graham Potter when he was doing well? And we weren't. We were down in 15th for 5 games straight. Like, come on. I'm not smart with these people. Like, at the time I say things, it's like these people just love to take a conversation from there, fast forward 2 years, now we're doing well, and put that conversation with that. Yeah, at the time I said that was spot on. So whatever, mate. Whatever floats your boat. Cheers for your money.
Thank you for the super chat, bro. I appreciate that. I know you've got to shoot in a minute, but I did want to ask
10 minutes late. I'm always late.
I did want to ask you this question. Who's going to have the better footballing legacy? Bukayo Saka or Eden Hazard?
See you later. Are you mad? When I see this, I was like, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, are you sure, Tel? Like, I get why you're trying to do that, because Saka's young, he's playing for Arsenal, could win a title, add that to the FA Cup. Like, he's star boy, he's probably going to win Player of the Season again for us, and rightly so. I think he's been fantastic. But Eden Hazard, come on, man, he's got a long way to go. Like, and the thing is, it's very hard to predict that, Terry, right now, because for all we know, Bukayo Saka could then, God forbid this don't happen, he could end up with an injury that rules him out for a year or 2 years, could end his career.
Let's just slow this down for a second. So we're going to base this opinion on the premise that he doesn't get injured, because of course, if something bad happens tomorrow, he never plays again, we know the answer. Let's just say
he's got to go and win Champions League.
So let me set the premise. You understand where I'm coming from. When I talk legacy, I do not mean the better technician or the better ability. I know. You're talking trophies. I'm talking everything. I'm talking ability, outputs, consistency, stroke longevity, trophies. Who do you think when they retire will have the better legacy in the game? Bukayo Saka or Hazard, who's near the end of his career now?
That's a hard question, mate.
Do you think Saka's got the ability, staying at Arsenal, to win? You've got to remember, I think Hazard's got a Champions League, which he's on the bench for, a La Liga that he was on the bench for.
No, hold on. He weren't on the bench in the group stage of that Champions League.
Was he starting it? So okay, so just I don't want to argue. I just want to set the premise. So we'll just say his trophies.
He's won the Premier League. He's won La Liga. He's won the Europa League. He's won the Champions League.
Okay. So I'm about to say it. So he's got 2 Prems. He's got a La Liga, a Champions League, and a Europa League. Do you think?
And an EFL Cup.
Okay. Do you think Bukayo Saka can achieve that or more in his career? Do you think he's got the ability to, whether it's with Arsenal or moving on to a club if Arsenal can't do it? Do you think he has the ability to do that?
Yeah, I think so. But whether he does or not remains to be seen. But I do think he has the ability, and he's got the age on his side. He's only 21. But it depends. It depends. He's won 2 Europa Leagues, by the way, and the Champions League.
Yeah.
It depends, because where are Arsenal going to be in 5 years? How good are we going to be between that 5-year period? Are we going to keep winning? Is he going to stay? He ain't signed a contract yet. All the talk's been going on for a year, Terry, about the contract's on the table. Why ain't you signed it then? All verbal agreement, all this and that. We'll sign it then. So I don't know. It wouldn't, if he went to Real Madrid or was playing at Real Madrid now, I'd be more confident in saying yeah. But I don't know, mate. That's a hard question to answer, because you don't know what's going to happen. If he stays fit, then obviously he's got years on his side. Of course he has. He's got 10, 12 years left at least. But it depends where he goes, whether he stays at Arsenal, what Arsenal do. Yes, it's great. We're in a fantastic moment, a fantastic season, but who's to say we're going to be there in 3 years? Man United with Qatari money, Chelsea with their money, Newcastle with their money.
And I think that's, again, it's where players need. One of the reasons why when people defend Harry Kane, say, well, it's not his fault Tottenham don't compete. I'm like, well, it is, because he's signing new deals and staying. The only time that argument holds water is based on your nationality. You know, if you're the best player in the world, but you happen to have been born in Luxembourg, you're probably not going to win major trophies with Luxembourg. So then, you can't change your nationality easily. Some people have the opportunity to, but most don't. Club-wise, if Arsenal start to regress next season, the year after, he can move. He can get out of there and go to another club. The reason I bring it up is because I hold Hazard at such a high standard. I don't put him into the same category as Zidane's and Ronaldinho's and Messi's and Ronaldo's and Paul Scholes's, Henry.
Not as good as Alexis Sanchez either.
Alexis Sanchez.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I mean, I don't put Sanchez in the group with those people either. So they're on a different platform. But I use him as an example because he's won trophies. He was brilliant on the eye. He was an exciting player. And when he was at his pomp in the Premier League, he was one of the poster boys of this competition. And I think that Eden Hazard has been tremendous. I know he's won trophies at Real Madrid. And this is obviously, I don't think he's been overly influential in winning any of those trophies, but he has them to his name. And Jonathan Greening played in a few Champions League games and was on the bench in a final once. But I wouldn't say that makes him a better player for it. But Eden Hazard's got a very, very good legacy in the game. But I look at Bukayo Saka, and I did this because I'm just looking at how good he is and how good do people think he'll become. And I love those kind of conversations in football. I do think Saka, because of the age he's at, the way he's scoring, the way he's performing, and the performances in recent games, the Everton game stands out. This weekend stands out as well, where he's delivering goals and assists in highly pressured games. This kid could go on to have a legacy as big as Hazard, if not bigger, in my opinion. That's how good I think he is. Like, genuinely, I think he's that good that this kid could go on to win multiple Prems, Champions Leagues, everything, but be a pivotal part of that. And what I think Saka's got to his advantage over Hazard. Hazard was a technically better football player. I think dribbling, first touch, he did things that were so majestic and magician-like. I don't think Saka's as good as him in that area, but Saka's got a better head. Saka's going to remain, barring something he can't control, a catastrophic injury or illness, Saka is going to remain fitter for longer and deliver. I think he's going to have more longevity than
Hazard could have been the best player on the planet.
Oh, he could have been.
He had the ability. His mentality, he didn't want it. Like, he wanted it whenever he fancied. Like that game against Tottenham when he just turned up and blitzed them. Yeah, so like they didn't win the league the season Leicester won it. But I am literally 20 minutes late.
I know you are, mate. Listen, I'll finish up over here anyway, and I'll catch up with you soon, bro. We'll speak again.
I love that. Big up, man. Thank you.
Man. Cheers, bro. All the best, mate. Thank you. Angel here says, at the time I said it is a cop-out answer that we could use to anything can avoid responsibility. That's like if I said Leon Edwards would never be champ, then he becomes champ. I was wrong. Yeah, listen, Lee ain't here to answer for himself, but I agree with you. And I said this before, but Lee, you're never going to get Lee saying he was wrong. It's never, ever, ever, ever going to happen. Hatim says, so 99 points and winning the league is not one of the Prem's greatest teams. So not by the standards I use. So I don't use one singular season as the reason they're the greatest. It feeds into it, but I look over a 5 to 6 year period. What have they achieved? So I don't just look at United's treble team and go, they won a treble that makes them the best. I look at what they won a couple of years before it and a few years after it. Now, that team did a three-peat of Premier Leagues, plus won multiple other trophies in that time period. The Man United team in 2008 that won a Premier League and Champions League in the same season, which is a better achievement than 99 points. It's 2 big trophies. What did we win before that season and after that season for 2 or 3 years? Now, that team from 2006 through to 2013, as a case in point, that's as long as Klopp has been at Liverpool, won 3 League Cups, I believe. Won 3 League Cups, 5 Premier Leagues, a Champions League, World Club Championships. Greater team. So that is what I look at in those circumstances, my friend. I hope that kind of makes sense to you in relation to that. Who's had the better career, Kane or Aubameyang? Aubameyang's won more trophies, so his career has been better. Harry Kane is the better individual striker. People talking down Saka are copying. Listen, it's a really hard question. We're going to do a full... I did it as a prelude. We're doing a full show tomorrow night that's going to be legacy debates. Who has the greatest legacy or who will have the greatest legacy in football? And legacy is based on the four, the four holy points, as I've pointed out many times before: ability, outputs, consistency, and longevity, and trophies. They're the only things you should be assessing when it comes to football, in my opinion. Terry, would you give over, lad? Saka won't something yet as one F4. But that isn't the question, is it, Wayne? I haven't said what has he won yet. I said, what will he win? What do you think he'll achieve? Since when are we not allowed to project the future of teams and players? That's always been part of football conversations. Why would we suddenly stop doing that, Wayne? Why would we? Why? It's never been done before. We've never once before. I've never ever been told before that we can't predict something. So now we can't. That doesn't make sense, Wayne. Come on now. Listen, I want to say thank you to everybody that has tuned in today. It's always humbles us that you turn up and do what it is that you do. Make sure you hit the like button before you leave and subscribe to the Football Terrace, clicking that bell notification in the process. Until next time, take care, goodbye, God bless, and we'll